I thought that I would show you how Google Sheets can help you keep track of your portfolio so you don't have to log into the stock market simulator every time. And I thought this could also help you learn a couple of new Sheets functions, specifically Google Finance and Sparkline. So, want to show you how I've set it up. So, I've put some dates here. Let's imagine that this was how long the contest was lasting for. And when you do this, format, number, and select date so that it knows that it is a date. And because if it doesn't think that it's a date, the formula is not going to work correctly. And I've put in some stocks, and I've put in some symbols, and you got to get the I've got the FANG companies here: Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and I added Shopify. It has to be the exact stock market ticket for it to work. So, for example, if I wanted to go to Shopify and get their price, what I'm looking for is this here. So this is on Toronto. So I want this little code, TSE:shop with no space. And for NASDAQ and NYSE, you don't have to change anything, but it has to be exactly as it appears there in Google, or this will not work. So here is how the formula works. So equal Google Finance. And the first thing is the ticker. And you can point to a cell, or you can just type the ticker out by itself. But you might not want to type it out. You might want to keep your list of cells separate because you might have a big spreadsheet because your portfolio has a lot of stocks. So here, I'll put in Facebook. So that's first. Colon, what do I want? Do I want the volume? Do I want the earnings per share? I just want the price. Put that in quotation marks. Put the quotation marks in. And then, so let's say, what's the price today? Loads within 20 minutes. Okay, so Facebook today is at $270. So maybe you might want to just have, hey, I want my list of stocks, let's say. So for example, I'll show you how you would point to a specific, ticker. Say I put some of my tickers in here, and I just want to see, at first glance, what is what's my portfolio looking at. So instead of typing out Facebook, I'm going to put in E10 because that's where Facebook is. And this is good because if I had a big list, I could Control C and paste it and see at a glance how am I doing today. That's pretty useful. But you can fine tune it even more. And so, here's another thing you can do. Equal Google Finance, open bracket. So I want Facebook, comma, price. Put price goes in quotation marks. And I'm going to put in the date 2020, December, and let's say December 18th. Close it. Oops, my mistake. When I put in the date formula, I don't need that extra quotation mark. So now what you can see is, okay, it went and got the close at December 18th at 4 p.m. and it made me this little 4x4, four cell 2x2 table. What I really want is the second row, and the second column. I want this number here. So I'm going to show you what I've put in here. I took Google Finance and I started with equal index. Put the Google Finance code that I wanted in there, and then comma 2 for second column, comma 2 for second row. It's going to pull, instead of giving me that 4x4 sheet, it is just going to give me the one cell. So that's what I want. I just want the closing price on that day. And so here it is, index Google Finance. So point to the place where it says my symbol, give me the price, and then the date. I'm always going to have my date at the top row, so I need to put a $sign in there so that when I cut and paste it, it updates it without messing things up. So let's say I wanted to see how it's doing. Let's imagine each week I check my stock prices. Control C, and I paste it. And what you can see is it's moved it over one column, and it's pointing to the new date. And this is good because, I can say, cut and paste this, and you can see it's moving down one row at a time. And so to do a week's update, just select this, move it over, and you can see it's giving you the update. So you can see how things are changing. And I selected all of this data. I went format, currency, so that it would, look normal. Now here you see a little line that is that's filled in automatically. And it's called a Sparkline. And you can do different things in it. You could, for example, you might want to look quickly at how things are going. And so equal Sparkline, and okay, you can see that, a while ago it went up and it's been kind of flat since then. So equal Sparkline, and then just the range of cells. You can cut and paste it, and it's going to, update it. And the benefit of this is you can see movement without having to go to the separate chart. And some people, maybe they just want the last, 10 days. Let's say, for example, you had a long-term chart, but you just wanted your Sparkline to give you a thumbnail of the recent days. So here's how I can plug in the Google Finance information. Equal Sparkline. In parentheses, Google Finance, and then I point to B2, comma, price, comma, today. Now, if you enter that function, today, bracket, it spits out today's date. So today minus 10 is 10 days before today. And then it's going to start 10 days ago, and it's going to end today. And you can see, it's on a little bit of a downtrend. So someone might put these into their Google Sheet so they can see, that there's some negative news. Maybe it's time to sell. Maybe I'll be careful. So, and then, obviously it's a function of how many shares you have. So here I have I'm going to multiply the share price by the number of shares. So I want to make sure I put my $sign in front of B, because I'm always going to be referring to this number of shares. And then I'm going to be referring to the share price, a few rows above. So I don't need $signs for that. So I'm going to fill that out. And then you get the whole, you can see here, it's when I click on this, it's pointing to this Shopify price, it's pointing to 30 shares, and then I use my sum formula. I only want the sum to appear if the values have filled in. If, those days haven't happened yet and I haven't entered the pricing information, maybe I haven't bought the stock yet, I want to leave it blank. So I can again paste a whole row, at a time, and you can see how my portfolio has grown. And you might want to, okay, well, on opening day, what's the breakdown of my portfolio? Select the value, hold down Command or hold down Control, select your ticker, insert chart. Make sure you don't select the total because that'll mess up your pie chart. And then here I make my pie chart, and I'll click here on the three dots, move it to its own sheet, and you can see how the portfolio is divided among your big stocks. That might be interesting. I want to show you how I can put the graphs of the stock price along with something really big like the portfolio. So I've just used the equal sign to put my total portfolio value right here. Sometimes Google Sheets gets a little weird if the data isn't next to each other. So I'm going to select all the stock prices and all my tickers. I'm going to go insert a chart, and you got to make sure the chart looks good before you got to eyeball it. So firstly, I want a line chart, and I want the date along the x-axis here. So I'm going to switch the rows and the columns, and I can see that okay, it's filled everything in together, and I have my dates on the bottom. You can double click on it, give it a clear title. Now the issue is right now is that I'm going to click on the three dots, move it to my own sheet, that the value of the total portfolio is so much higher than the stocks you can't really see it. So the solution is to put it on its own axis. So I'm going to click Edit Chart, Customize, Series, and go to the total. I'm going to give it a little bit of a brighter color so I can see it clearly. And then I'm going to move it to the right axis. And now we have two different scales, and it shows up a little bit better. So under right vertical axis, you can set the what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a log scale. So maybe I don't like how that looks. That's good for showing percentage changes. I'll leave it as is. And under chart and axis titles, under right vertical axis, I'm going to give it a title. So people know it's portfolio value. And then on the regular vertical axis, call it share price. And that way, I can see everything, and it, the scale doesn't, doesn't mess things up, and you can customize the formatting the way that you want. Here's another thing that might help you with your portfolio. Conditional formatting. I don't know if you used that before, but I'm going to select this here, and I'm going to go to Format, Conditional Formatting, and then if I'm going to go back to is it bigger than it was the previous week? So in this case, is D2 bigger than C2? So if it is greater than C2, I want it to turn green. So if it's growing, I want it to turn green. So you can see it's going to apply to the whole range, and it's going to look to the column to the left. Is it greater than? It'll go green. Now, what's the opposite? Well, if it goes down, add another row. Let's turn it red if it goes down. So format cells if less than, and have it refer to C2, and it'll update it so that it's always going to be looking to the row next to it. And that's a way, so if I decide, hey, I want to change this date, you can see the formatting updated equally to right away without me having to do anything. So a lot of investors will use conditional formatting to decide whether they should buy or sell something. Anyway, so not all of those chart techniques are interesting. I just mentioned that because I know some of you need a bit of a refresher on Google Sheets because it's been a while. But hopefully you learn the Google Finance function. So you can pull your stock prices right away based on a date and based on a symbol. Hopefully you learn the Sparkline function, so you can make little line charts that appear in the column. And hopefully you learn the conditional formatting function so you can see right away whether something's doing well or something needs to be sold.